And then, of course, there's the big promise. They say they will make America great again. Well, in my mind, that statement begs an obvious question. Again, for whom? Can someone tell me exactly which part of the past they want to bring back? Because that's exactly what they're talking about. They want to go back. They want to go back on civil rights and voting rights. They promise they'll reverse the Prop 8 ruling by ignoring the Supreme Court and violating the separation of powers. They promise to deny entry into our country for women and children solely based on the God they worship. They promise to go back on the rights of workers to organize for their families and their futures. Now is the time to stand with our teachers who are under attack at the Supreme Court, because we are not going back on collective bargaining. They want to go back to allowing coal companies and big oil and big businesses to poison our water and our land. We're not going to let the polluters and their army of science deniers drag us backwards. And they promise to go back to a time when even a victim of sexual assault did not have the right to choose. But the stakes are too high in this election. We are not going back to that back alley.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, if you're not Native American, we're all immigrants, so let's start there. And I would say that immigration reform and the need for comprehensive immigration reform is the front and center civil rights issue of our day, and certainly California has an outsized stake in the outcome of this issue. We have more immigrants than any other state in the country, documented and undocumented. And the fact that there are folks on this stage and in other places scapegoating our immigrants is really not in the best interest of our country. So here's what I say we have to do. We have to pass comprehensive immigration reform. I know the work that I have done with immigrants in the state of California on this issue, be it getting legal assistance for unaccompanied minors or directing local law enforcement that they should make decisions in the best interest of security for their community, and that does not require them to comply with ICE detainers. And look at this in terms of the impact to our economy. When we pass comprehensive immigration reform in this country, California will benefit within 3 years by $5 billion and 600,000 jobs. It's just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do, and we will all benefit from it. Let's stop doing us and them. Let's bring all of these folks out of the shadows into the sunlight and be true to the values that we...
And your voting record and stated position on gay marriage and the importance of having a quote-unquote traditional family structure for raising children is pretty clear. I disagree with your position, but of course you're entitled to your opinion. I don't want that, however, to impact your opinion on that matter. The recruitment or retention of patriotic LGBT women and men in the CIA, some of whom have, of course, taken great risks to their lives for our country. Can you commit to me that your personal views on this issue will remain your personal views and will not impact internal policies that you put in place at the CIA?
Senator Harris, you have my full commitment to that. I would only add that in my life as a private businessman, this same set of issues was out there. I had my views at that time as well, and I treated each and every member of the workforce that I was responsible for at those times with the dignity and respect, and demanded of them the same things that I demanded of every other person that was working as part of my team.
And do I have your assurance that this equal treatment will include policies related to child care services, family benefits, and accompanied posts for dependents?
Without knowing the full set of policies and benefits out at the Central Intelligence Agency, I haven't had the chance to find that out just yet. You have my assurance that every employee will be treated in a way that is appropriate and equal.
And that you will not put in place any policies that would discriminate against any members because of their sexual orientation?
Ma'am, I can't imagine putting in place any policy that was discriminatory with respect to any employee.
Thank you.
And I'm also concerned about rhetoric related to Muslims from high-profile members of the incoming administration, in particular Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, with whom I imagine you'll be working closely. I don't want that to impact recruitment or retention of the patriotic and critically important Muslim men and women of the CIA, some, of course, who have taken great risks to serve our country. Can you commit to me that you will be a tireless advocate for all members of the CIA, all of the workforce?
Yes, ma'am.
CIA Director Brennan, who spent a 25-year career at the CIA as an analyst, a senior manager, and station chief in the field, has said that when, quote, CIA analysts look for deeper causes of rising instability in the world, one of the causes those CIA analysts see as is the impact of climate change. Do you have any reason to doubt the assessment of these CIA analysts?
Senator Harris, I haven't had a chance to read those materials with respect to climate change. I do know the agency's role there. Its role is to collect foreign intelligence, to understand threats to the world. That would certainly include threats from poor governance, regional instability, threats from all sources, and deliver that information to policymakers. And to the extent that changes in climatic activity are part of that foreign intelligence collection task, we will deliver that information to you all and to the President.
In the past, you have questioned the scientific consensus on climate change. Nevertheless, according to NASA, multiple studies published in peer-reviewed scientific journals show that 97% or more of actively published climate scientists agree that climate warming trends over the past century are extremely likely due to human activities. In addition, most of the leading scientific organizations worldwide have issued public statements endorsing this position. Do you have any reason to doubt NASA's findings?
Senator, I've actually spoken to this in my political life some. My commentary, most all, has been directed to ensuring that the policies that America put in place actually achieve the objective of ensuring that we didn't have catastrophic harm that resulted from change in climate. I continue to hold that view. I frankly, as the director of CIA, would prefer today not to get into the details of climate debate and science. It seems my role is going to be so different and unique from that. It is going to be to work alongside warriors keeping Americans safe. And so I stand by the things that I've said previously with respect to that issue.
Many of you may be wondering what's going on politically in California and how can we make it stop? Well, good news. In electing Kamala Harris to replace Barbara Boxer as our U.S. Senator, we have raised the intelligence of our representation 100-fold, so that our senator is now an idiot instead of a walking turnip sculpted into a shape vaguely reminiscent of Barbara Boxer and named Barbara Boxer. Senator Harris's inspiring stupidity was on display last week when she questioned Mike Pompeo. Pompeo is Donald Trump's appointment to head the Central Intelligence Agency, and Senator Harris grilled Pompeo on all the important things a CIA director has to know.
When, quote, CIA analysts look for deeper causes of rising instability in the world, one of the causes those CIA analysts see as is the impact of climate change. Do you have any reason to doubt the assessment of these CIA analysts?
Senator Harris, I haven't had a chance to read those materials with respect to climate change. I do know the agency's role there. Its role is to collect foreign intelligence.
Now, before you think Harris is being completely irrational, let me point out that she clarified her climate change remarks by saying that oleaginous winter chickens walk on the smoke-filled iron of Mandalay. And okay, that doesn't make much sense either, but it's a little bit more reasonable than asking a prospective CIA director about the weather. Senator Harris went on to raise another urgent CIA issue, gay marriage. Harris asked Pompeo if his opposition to gay marriage meant he'd be unwilling to hire gay people, which is very important because if there are no gay people in the CIA, who's going to seduce information out of those louche, olive-skinned young men wearing white suits and smoking perfumed cigarettes in the Casbah? Now, I do have to admit that these exchanges made me wonder if Pompeo was ready for the CIA job. After all, our top spy should be able to keep his composure even when irrational people like Kamala Harris are gibbering nonsense in his face about irrelevant issues. Personally, I want a top spy who can look at a blithering dunderhead like Senator Harris and coolly light the fuse of a bomb with his cigarette before driving away in his Aston Martin DB10 Spectre, preferably with a shapely blonde double agent with a 36 bra size as opposed to a 36 IQ. Instead, Pompeo gaped at Kamala Harris with an expression that seemed to say, uh-oh, I'm late for my Senate confirmation hearing, and I seem to have accidentally wandered into a screen test for the new reality show, 10 Random Questions to Ask a Guy. All the same, I feel confident that as long as Kamala Harris is one of California's senators, our homosexual spies will be cultivating sources among the clouds in order to keep tabs on any suspicious weather. Please get me out of California. Please.
Really concerns me is that, I, as a prosecutor, I've learned that when people are attacked, they do one of two things. They fight back or they retreat. And my deep concern is that there are a lot of people who have retreated, who are really scared. These are people that include women who are concerned, are they going to have access to Planned Parenthood because it's going to be shut down, and that's where they get their mammograms. These are people that are these dreamers who are afraid that they are going to be sent to a country they don't know. I'm talking about people who are concerned about, because they are Muslim. Is this going to mean that they're going to be on some registry? So these are not people who are concerned about, they could care less whether it's a Democrat or a Republican talking. What they are hearing is that there may be policies for our country that will single them out and target them in a way that will harm them. In the 14 cases that have been previously mentioned, in each of those cases, regulated companies were also a party to your suits. Is that correct?
In some instances, yes.
In most of them. Can you name a few instances in which you have filed a lawsuit in your independent capacity as Attorney General against a corporate entity for violating state or federal pollution laws?
Senator, I have a list here that's been provided.
Can you name them, please?
Sure. There's a list that has been...
Can you name one?
Yes. The first is the Mayhard Egg Farm involving a CAFO situation and a cleanup of a large hen operation that affected water quality. Did you file a lawsuit in that case, sir? I did, Senator.
Okay, and what was the outcome of that case?
We received a good outcome against them.
And the name of that entity was what?
Mayhard Egg Farm.
And can you name any other cases where you have actually filed a lawsuit against a corporate entity for violating federal pollution laws?
In fact, that case was brought in conjunction with the EPA, and I want to address something, Senator, earlier. When you say independent capacity, those cases that you referred to, the list of cases, were as an extension of the DEQ in the state of Oklahoma, an extension of agencies at the state level that had authority granted to them by this body that we were.
And I understand that role as a former Attorney General, but that is you representing your client. I'm asking about your independent capacity as the Attorney General of your state. Let's move on. On the issue of mercury.
I would suggest that the Senator's time has expired in terms of moving on. Thank you. I would like to introduce for the record a letter.
I would like to have a list submitted, sir, and if you would agree to give us a written copy of the training that you are instituting in your department to train folks about how they should exercise their discretion.
We'll certainly provide you the policy statements, and from that, the training takes place. Again, they're already highly trained individuals.
Well, we've already discussed how they have the lowest morale of any federal agency, and that
under the Obama administration.
Okay. So, sir, given the extent and depth of the problems that exist at DHS, and that we have so far received no assessment or any program that you have or plan that you have to address these issues, how can you justify such massive increases in hiring and resources? And should the American public really be expected to give you billions of dollars and provide billions of dollars to your agency when, on blind faith, in spite of the fact that there has been no clear change of direction or course beyond the fact that you were appointed to lead the agency? Should the American public believe to have blind faith in the fact that you are now the leader and therefore everything has changed?
They should have faith in the fact that I'm the leader. They should also have faith that the rank and file have now been allowed to do their job. We've already seen a change in the morale. Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Senator.
Equally important is what Michelle Obama said last night. The significance of Hillary Clinton breaking the ceiling is the significance of telling our sons as well as our daughters, you can do anything, unburdened by who has done it before. And that's an important point to make to everybody, not just girls, not just women, not just people of a certain race. It's telling everyone, anyone can do whatever they want. It is all possible if you work hard. And there were a lot of people who doubted that I would be elected for that reason. They said, well-meaning people, but, no one like you has done this before, and that's going to be a challenge, and people aren't prepared for someone like you holding that position. So there are challenges, but equally important, and I think the Congressman is absolutely correct, when we understand that, and then through your leadership and women and men like you, pulling together an infrastructure to encourage those women to have faith that they actually can do it, and building the infrastructure around them, anything can be done. But I think also the point that you were asking about fundraising is a very real one for women. Women, most women are taught to be independent. And to be independent means don't ask anyone for money. And then you run for office and you have to ask everybody for money. And there's a real psychological burden that associates with that. Right. And so what I mentor women who are running for office, I say, listen, just be clear. You're not asking someone to buy you a pair of shoes. It's about having them invest in what they believe is in the best interest of their community, their families, and the issues.